YouTube, it's Lauren. I am finally sitting down and I'm filming my labor and delivery story. I have Mr. Cade here with me. He may be kind of jumping in and out of this video here, hanging out on the floor in front of me. But so far so good with him. Now this is a long story, so you've been warned right off the bat here. So I'm gonna jump right on in. I'm gonna try not to blab here. I have everything written down on my phone, so if you see me looking down, that's what that is. But yes, this little guy came into the world the way nobody was expecting, after a very long process. So let's jump right on in. You will have to excuse my new mom look here, but this is what you get. So Thursday, September 21st, that morning I had my last and final OB appointment. They did one last NST and Cade was looking awesome on the monitors. My OB did check me. My cervix was still really high and closed, which was a bummer. I wanted her to strip my membranes if she could, but she wasn't able to. But that was okay. I had a massage that day. I just was really relaxed, finished packing our bags. I thought we were going to be overpacking so much, but it turned out to be a good thing because we were in the hospital for a week. But yeah, we went out to Pizza Luce that night and we had our planned induction set for 7 p.m. that night. So we got to the hospital a little bit before 7 o'clock. We got our room right away. My OB was actually on call that night, which was nice. And she was able to kind of put a word into the charge nurse's ear, put a bug in that we wanted a large room with one of the birthing tubs. So we were led to our room and lo and behold, we did get a really awesome room. It had an awesome big birthing tub in the middle of the room. It was a little bit one of the bigger rooms, so we were so grateful for that and so happy. Let's see, we were admitted and they just kind of like asked you a ton of questions, put everything into the system, things like that. Took a while. Then they put an IV in and the nurse that admitted me and did all this, she just immediately put the IV into my left hand, which the nurses later down the line were confused by that. They said they use hands as like last resorts, but she just did it right in my hand and it was like out towards my pinky. I don't even know if you can really tell what I'm doing here. It was out towards my pinky, so every time I moved my hand or like made a fist, it tugged on it. It was just a really poor location, but it was just like an IV, nothing was hooked up to it, an IV, I don't know, it's called something. But the OB finally came in at 8:30 and checked me again, still really high and closed. So then at 9:45, basically just like a lot of waiting around at this point, we inserted something called Cervical. And it is a cervix softening medicine, and it looks like a little like piece of paper with a string, like a tampon string, and they insert it like way up, like right on or like behind or like right by your cervix, and it releases some sort of cervix softening medicine for 12 hours. So we inserted that, and at 11:30, Teddy is, you know, snoozing peacefully on the couch, and I'm just wide awake. You know, obviously floods of emotions, so my nurse actually gave me something to help me sleep, some sort of similar to Benadryl, I don't know, just help me relax and go to sleep that night. Friday, September 22nd, we woke up around 8 o'clock and we just hung out until we had breakfast. Breakfast didn't get there till like 10. Again, just a lot of waiting around. At 10:20, we were able to take that Cervical out, so it had been a little more than 12 hours at that point. They checked my cervix again and couldn't really even feel my cervix. Like, that's how high up it was. It was very, very painful to check. And so that was just kind of disappointing. I was able to get up and shower at 10:45. I finally asked at about 12:15 if they could change my IV location. It was just really hurting at this point. Look how good you're being, buddy. You lost your nook. And it actually took 2 nurses to attempt to put the IV in. So just a lot of poking and prodding me at this point. At 12:30 on Friday, 12:30 p.m. in the afternoon here, we decided to insert a different cervix softening medicine. This one was called Cytotec, and basically does the same thing, softens your cervix, but is only up there for 4 hours. It's actually a little tiny pill that they put on the end of this really thin tube and like push it up there. I don't know. It didn't hurt though, inserting it. So I was able to take a nap from about 1 until a little after 2 o'clock. Then we had a late lunch. They checked me at 4:30, so 4 hours after the Cytotec was inserted. It took 2 nurses. The first nurse, again, couldn't even reach my cervix, so she found a nurse with longer fingers. Yeah. They finally found my cervix. It was like off to the right, my left side of the body, but like off to the right and like super high up. But they said I was about 1 centimeter dilated. Again, still super, super painful to check just because it was so high up there. At 5:15, the OB came in and said, did they do an ultrasound on you last night to make sure that your baby is still head down? They should have done one upon admittance. And nope, they did not. So they wheeled in a little portable ultrasound machine, and they did confirm that he was head down. Just, you know, obviously he needs to be head down to start coming down and making progress here. So at this point, I'm having contractions. They aren't super painful. You know, I can talk through them, walk through them, everything. But they're picking up on the monitor. I am having contractions, and they were actually coming too close together to insert another round of that cervix softening medicine. So we just kind of took a walk. I bounced on the birthing ball, hung out. We had dinner about 7:15 on that Friday. They checked me at 9:45. I was still really high and my cervix was to the left, but I was 1 to 2 centimeters dilated. And I swear they just say like the 2 part just to make you feel better. But hey, it worked, whatever. At this point, the OB came in at about 11 p.m. and they gave me 2 options. I could either start some Pitocin and kind of have that run all throughout the night and see what happens to my contractions, if they pick up, become more painful, if I progress anymore. But there's obviously the possibility that I could be on Pitocin all night long and wake up at no change. The other option was to do a Foley catheter bulb or balloon, however you want to refer to it as. This is a little catheter that's inserted into the cervix and filled, so it expands, so it manually dilates your cervix. And I was told that every like 30 minutes or an hour, they have to come in and give the balloon like a little bit of a tug to, you know, continue to dilate you. As they tug, you dilate, and once you hit 4 centimeters, when they tug on it, the balloon comes out. So I opted, or, you know, Teddy and I discussed our options here. We actually opted to try to insert this Foley catheter bulb because I would rather wake up at 4 centimeters than be on Pitocin all night with the possibility of no change. So, at about 12:30, or actually about midnight, sorry, they started this procedure. Now, they gave me the nitrous, the laughing gas, to just help me get through the process because my cervix was still so high up there, and even just checking my cervix was painful at this point. And so I opted to do the laughing gas. However, the procedure was so excruciatingly painful that the laughing gas wasn't helping. I was in hysterics, just crying. You know, Teddy's trying to comfort me. It was honestly, it was traumatic. And so the OB actually stopped doing the procedure, and he said, you know, my job isn't to torture you, and clearly we're not getting the bulb into your cervix. So, again, we fell back on the Pitocin. So we started a low dose of Pitocin at about 12:30 a.m. I guess it's Saturday now. And just kind of had that running for the rest of the night. And they kind of just kept increasing the dosage throughout the night. My blood sugar was low, kind of on and off all through that night, which was just annoying, dealing with contractions and, you know, having to drink juice and eat fruit snacks and whatever. So I got some okay sleep. By the morning, they were up to, I think, 9 units per hour of this Pitocin. I don't even know if I'm saying that right. But then the following morning, so we're on Saturday, the 23rd now, they were able to stop my Pitocin, kind of unhook me from all the IVs. I was able to shower and eat breakfast. They did check my cervix at 11:15 a.m. on Saturday. And it was finally a little bit lower and it was softer. And I was still about 1 to 2 centimeters, but, you know, still making slow progress, I guess. And then the OB actually she was able to strip my membranes at this point. At 12:15, we inserted another round of Cytotec, just because my cervix still had some softening, some ripening to do. So they inserted the Cytotec at about 12:15. I met with the endocrinologist that was on call. We were able to make some changes to my insulin needs, ratios, all of that. Because at this point, you know, contractions are picking up and my blood sugar just kind of kept going low, which is annoying because that just kind of like sucks the energy out of you. So at this point, we're just walking around, bouncing on the birthing ball, getting through these contractions. We did eat some lunch, which was so nice that I was able to eat through all this. I wasn't in like full-blown active labor yet, so they did let me eat. I was checked at 4:15, no change. So we did another round of Cytotec. Same thing, just kind of napped on and off, walked the halls, ate dinner. I was checked at 9 p.m., no change. And unfortunately at this point, the contractions were too close together to do another round of that Cytotec. So again, just more hanging out, walking the halls, bouncing, things like that. They did tell me if there was no change by midnight that night, that we would continue with Pitocin. Kate's hanging out on the floor now here. So just before midnight, my contractions did slow down a little bit. They did check my cervix, no change. So we did another round of that Cytotec, which is the 4-hour cervix softening medicine. At this point, I was just fighting low blood sugars again all night long, which was super annoying. I woke up at 36 at one point, which is very, very low. The one thing that I didn't like, however, is that the nurse came in and I'm fully conscious at this point. I can eat, drink juice, whatever. At this point, she said, it's hospital protocol to do glucose through your IV. So I'm thinking it's just going to be like a bag of liquid, sugar, water, whatnot, just dripping down into my IV. So I was like, okay, let's just do this. Well, she brings in this giant syringe. It is like this long, this thick. I don't know if you can even see this. It is filled with this substance that is the consistency of honey. It is so thick. My IV is here in my arm. She had to push it through my IV. Probably took her a good half an hour to push this substance through. And when she was done, my arm just felt like dead. Like it was numb. All around my IV was like hard, and she said it'll absorb. And then, of course, my blood sugar just skyrocketed. I did not agree with their approach at all. Looking back, I should have kind of stood up for myself more and fought her on that, especially because when I did get there, I signed a waiver or a little consent form saying that I would self-manage my diabetes the entire time I was there. He's falling asleep. But yes, I should have fought harder on that, but it was like 3 in the morning. I was exhausted. So yeah, then I was dealing with a rebound high blood sugar for the rest of the early morning there. So we are now into Sunday morning, the 24th, September 24th. At 5:15, they checked me, and I was told that I was 3 centimeters and 80% effaced. I was so excited to be making progress. At 5:40 that morning, we started Pitocin again. You know, we said, let's jumpstart this thing. Like, let's get things going, get the show on the road. I was kind of in and out of sleep at that point. Teddy's still snoozing on the couch next to me. At 7:30 that morning, we were kind of up for the day. At 9:30, we stopped Pitocin, and I was checked by the OB. Now, the OB came in, checked me, and said, nope, you're more like 2 centimeters, not 3. Oh, okay, great. And at that point, she said she wasn't really comfortable with breaking my water quite yet, being at only 2 centimeters. So I got up, showered, ate breakfast. You know, this is just getting to be routine at this point. They restarted my Pitocin and again, just walked, rested, bounced. Same old thing. At this point, Cade's heart rate started to drop after a contraction. Now, babies' heart rates can drop a little bit during a contraction, but they want it to go right back up. Now, his heart rate was dropping after a contraction when I wasn't even having a contraction. So they just had me get into bed, lay on my left side, and just rest at this point. Which my contractions were picking up, getting a little bit more painful, so laying in bed was the last thing that I wanted to do. But obviously did what I had to do. Let's see, they checked me at 1:20 p.m. and I was actually 3 centimeters at this point. And this is when the OB broke my water, which was the weirdest, craziest, coolest feeling and experience ever. You know, it looks like a long crochet hook. So she's up there and she hooks my bag of water and it kind of just starts to like trickle out. And Teddy's just like, oh, like this is cool. And I don't know if I like clenched down or like moved or did something, but all of a sudden it just came gushing out. It is like what it feels like, gallons of water coming out of you. I think in reality it's like a couple of cups or something. But it shot up the OB's arm and she's just like, all right, let me just go wash my arm off here. I'll be right back. And she's, you know, I'm sure she does this every day, obviously. But yeah, it was one of the coolest experiences ever. One of the parts of labor and delivery that I can say that I went through is my water being broken, but experiencing that was pretty cool. By 2:45 the afternoon, I was in some pain. I could no longer talk through my contractions, and I decided that I would like to labor in the tub. So we filled up the tub. It's this giant tub. You know, it took 20 minutes or so to fill. So I waddle my pregnant butt over there in pain, you know, dragging my little Pitocin IV pole with me. And I'm sitting in there for a while. And about 20, 30 minutes later, I'm like, I think my contractions stopped. Am I just too comfortable? Am I too relaxed in this tub? What's going on? Well, Teddy is, you know, kind of on the edge of the tub, giving me ice, whatever I need, and he looks down and he's like, is the tub leaking? Like, what's going on? Did you splash water out here? And it turned out that my IV for the Pitocin had come unhooked somehow and was spilling the Pitocin medicine, the oxytocin, whatever it is, like all over the floor. So I'm not getting any Pitocin. My contractions have stopped. Labor has stalled pretty much. The nurse did come in, rehook everything back up. But yeah, I don't really know what happened. But we had got everything rehooked up and contractions did pick up again in the tub. I was in the tub until about 6:30 that night on Sunday, when I decided to get out and I got it back into the bed and they checked me and I was at 3.5 centimeters. However, I was 90% effaced and Cade had dropped like significantly. You know, they reached up and they're like, yep, there's his head. So that was encouraging, even though I was only 3.5 centimeters. By 7:30, still in a lot of pain, I decided that I wanted to try the nitrous gas again, the laughing gas. Now this gas just kind of took the edge off of everything, but it made the contractions a little bit more bearable. So I started that up again at 7:30. Now this next little bullet here, I don't have a time written down, but I want to say it was like 10 or 10:30. That nitrous was just not cutting it anymore. I really battled with the decision of getting an epidural. I wanted to do this whole labor thing naturally, But at this point, you know, I'm on day 3, whatever, 3 full days of this. I'm exhausted. Things are getting really painful. The Pitocin is making my contractions just come back to back, one after the other. So it was a very difficult decision, but I decided to get an epidural.